All right, we are good to go. Fantastic. This is on. Okay, this is on flowing around the drum set, and I'm excited that everybody's here and we're going to have some fun today. And this is really a big goal of every drummer, maybe, right? Like, who doesn't want to be flowing around the drums? And this was a big challenge for me when I started. I really was like punk rock. I just grabbed the sticks and I started playing with songs. and I just went for it, and I never gave any thought to just like, okay, I'm going to hit that over there. I'm going to get there, and I got to hit the cymbal. I'm going to go there. And I just wasn't flowing around the kit like I wanted. And I was getting blisters on my fingers and cramps in my wrists, and I'd be really tired after playing, and I just wasn't feeling as fluid as I wanted or as relaxed as I wanted. And I'd see other drummers doing it, and I'm like, how are they doing that? And it took me a long time, but now I've really figured out a lot of just cool ways to get there using a system. And that's a really good way to think of drumming or anything you want. Don't think in goals, think in systems. Like, break it down. Like, what am I doing every day? How am I looking at this? And how do I really stack up those 1% wins, which will get me there by focusing on the process. So we say, like, focus on the process and the result will take care of itself. Because so many drummers, this is how I started. I want that flow, but like, how do I really get there? And just hoping that it will happen is not gonna make it happen. Hope is not a strategy. You may have heard that before, right? So let's get into some like nitty-gritty ways today on just how to unlock this flow into yourself. And if you're not getting it right away, you're in really good company. As I said, I started out like this. There's a lot of stories in the drum world of this. One that I love is Max Weinberg, who played with Bruce Springsteen. And he said, back when like Born in the USA was a big hit, early 80s, he's got the dream gig of a lifetime. And he was getting so tense that his drum tech had to electrical tape or duct tape the stick to his hand because he was like cramping up so much. That's like the complete opposite of flow. Just imagine that. Like, just some people, when they swim, they've said they've got like, a swimming cramp, and they're all of a sudden their legs don't work, and it's almost like a panic situation, which is not good if you're swimming, right? So it's like you're stiffening up so much, you're cramping. So that was happening to Max Weinberg, and he ended up going to Jim Chapin for some help on this. It's like, help, like SOS, I'm gonna lose the dream gig of a lifetime. And he taught him some of what I'm gonna show you today. And now Max Weinberg literally is still playing with Bruce Springsteen all these years later, and he's in his 70s. And if you watch Max Weinberg's technique and his flow and how he gets around the kit, it's like beautiful and flawless. And so if you have this, you'll actually get better as you age. So with each year that goes by, you'll get better and better instead of worse and worse. So that's really a myth. It's like, as you're in your 20s, and you're in your 30s, and you're in your 40s, you're just gonna start to get stiff cramps and just burn out. Like, no, that is not true at all. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing we really need is we're gonna start out like on your practice pad. So grab your practice pads, and we're gonna start with what's called the 2 pillars of technique. Now, if you've been in the LTR drumming world for a while, you may know what these are. I'm going to go over them with you today. Now, even like before that, and we won't go into this too much, but if we're going to talk about flow, we really are going to look at it from like a martial arts point of view or a dance point of view, or like Tai Chi or something. Like, everything's coming from your core. And I remember my teacher and mentor, Dom Famulero, used to tell me, like, take some tap dancing lessons, Chris. Take some tap, like actually sign up to a studio and go take some tap dancing lessons. And I'm like, I'm just crazy enough that I'm gonna freaking do that. And I did 6 months of tap dancing in the studio. And I was like, I don't care if I suck, I'm gonna like do these moves. And it was fun. And doing something I totally didn't know how to do. And you can go on YouTube and even find just a beginner tutorial or something like that. But what is tap dancing? Tap dancing is rhythm, balance, and motion. And what is drumming? Rhythm, balance, and motion. That's flow. Those three things: rhythm, balance, and motion, right? So if any one of those things are off, you're going to lose your flow. And just tap dancing is like, yeah, just a way you'll really feel your balance right away. And obviously, your feet are what's making the rhythms. So a real big game changer for me on the drums was when I started feeling drumming from the feet up rather than from the hands down. I think I know what I'm doing nowadays from all the bad roads I went down when I started, like all the mistakes, all the like bad habits, all the like being blindfolded. I'm like, oh, now, you know, hallelujah, I see the light after all this, after all these like wrong turns. I'm like, oh, now I finally get it. So I was like rudiment guy for a long time, you know, I was on the pad, hands guy, didn't pay any attention to my balance, didn't pay any attention to my feet. And I never had a lot of flow in those days until I started making that shift. I'm like, oh, now I can like feel it from the feet up. My core is centered. I'm on a good throne. So it really starts there. So just everybody, you may know this, you may be new to this, you may have done this 1,000 times if you're already in the Life Through Rhythm world. Your natural position. We always start with this. Let's all take a deep breath. I'm just really getting centered through the nose. One more time. Slow exhale. And one more time. Hold. Slowly exhale. Right on. And really, wow, I feel calmer and centered right now, just from 3 slower deep breaths. So flow is really, if we're not breathing and flowing, how are we going to flow around the kit, right? So just get centered, feel your feet, you're strong in your throne, feel it from your core, tension free. This is like a scan. We're just, you know, depends on what kind of day you had. Oh, I just was in like traffic, someone cut me off. Let it go. Maybe you just came from a massage, you're already loose. Cool, let's flow around the kit. It depends. You're just doing a little scan, like where am I at right now, right? Just check in. So one more time, tension free, right? Okay, so no jittering, we're just frozen in there. Excellent. Now we're gonna actually play something. Now we're gonna start on the pad and then take it to the kit. Now, if you're in the LTR drumming universe, you may know what the 2 pillars of technique are. Now, what are pillars? They are the foundation that holds something up so it can be a skyscraper, so it can go as high as you want to go. Now, simple is not easy. This is simple, but not easy. So there's only 2 pillars. Now, what's the first pillar? Rebound. So we're just going to go, oh, the stick actually wants to bounce every time it strikes a surface. This is like one of the laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This wasn't even on my radar when I started drumming. So I'm like, oh yeah, like it's so obvious, right? When you dribble a basketball, you're going to feel that. So the stick comes back at you, right? So let's just do a simple exercise. I call this the 8-7-6-5-4-3-2. And we're literally just gonna dribble the stick, just like using a wrist motion going like that. This is gonna be our default wrist motion. Okay, we could play like this, but we're gonna start like this. And let's go 8-7-6-5-4-3-2. All right, you ready? So 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm just trying to get like maximum bounce. I'm like exaggerating how much rebound I'm gonna get. 7s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you're not used to odd numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see if I can talk to you as I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're not used to odd numbers, oh, I'm gonna go also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might not be used to some, the 7s or the 5s. So this is a good way to get a little more familiar with that. Man, it's really challenging to talk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I got off track there, I apologize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go to 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And you don't have to rush. Keep breathing. Keep smiling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, you can't see it, but my foot is tapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. Throughout all these numbers, which is challenging at first because you have to go through all the numbers to a groove, but that's a good thing to aspire to. Why can't my drum pad groove as much as my kit, right? Why can't we play music on the pad? I say we can. So we're kind of in a song already. Okay, let's go 3s. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you find yourself getting out of the rebound, get it back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 da. It's that same feeling. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Notice I'm in my position the whole time, so I'm not losing that. Loose. Rebound. Okay, let's go to 2s. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And we just stay at the 2s because this is called a long roll, double stroke roll. And I want to keep multiple hits per side. So I'm not going to go to the 1s, I'm just going to end on the 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. Bam, give a fist bump, everybody. Fantastic. I'll see you next week. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to take a look at it. And this is like the first step. Does that make sense? Like really feeling the stick bounce as much as you can. Like get out of the way of the stick. Here's a cool little bit of science. Meditate on this. The stick will always come up faster by itself, faster than you could physically pull it up, than you could drag it up. Just imagine taking a basketball, squeezing it, pushing it down, stopping it, and then trying to pull it up and do that as fast as a dribble. No way. But when you dribble, you actually only work at the top half, maybe 2%. Everything else takes care of the rest. Gravity, momentum, right? And then it just floats right back to your hand. So it should be that same feeling, okay? So great, there's a lot of other exercises that I can share with you. That's a simple one. Even if you just like put on a song and just one hand at a time, okay? Just try to get the rebound in your hands. Okay, what's the second pillar? Momentum. Momentum. Now, sometimes I ask people like, what is momentum? And I had to really think about this the more that I explained it. So just take a moment right now and think, what is momentum? Now, if you can explain it to a 6-year-old, you really get it. So if you can really put it to simple terms, that means you really understand it. So I've heard some complicated answers for this. It's when, when this is happening, or some vague answers. It's when you're flowing. Well, okay, that doesn't say what it is, right? So momentum really is when there's a flow of energy happening that's uninterrupted. A flow of energy happening that's uninterrupted. So if you think of like a sled going down an icy hill, So it's just going down, nothing's in the way, and it's just kind of just flow and be totally interrupted. So we're going to use this is called the molar stroke, but we're not going to be bogged down with terms today. We're just, whether you know this or not, we're just going to think in terms of energy and how our bodies are working. So this is like a wave or a whip. So the energy is starting in my core and it's going through my body, and it's almost like a throwing sensation. So it's going to end up in the drum, and the drums are just going to catch it. Okay, so it's almost like if I have a bracelet on, it's going to get pulled up. Tip of the stick is really heavy. I'm just going to go like that. So you could do this in super slow motion. Just think like a wave traveling in the ocean, and it's like energy flowing uninterrupted. It's just basically this, right? It's the opposite of this. This would be, you ever seen those mechanical monkeys like that? That's like the dead opposite. Okay, so if you're like this, you're on the right track. Now, what I'm going to do is what's called pumping motion. Now, you may be familiar with that or not. Just follow me for now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to be in this wave motion, and I'm going to try to get some extra free taps happening. Okay, so let's go in threes to start. So I'm going to go whip and then tap up, whip, tap up. So all I'm really doing is this, but I'm trying to get it in a flow. So I'm doing the whip and I'm getting a tap and then I'm coming up. Now you could go really slow. So see how all the strokes are kind of joined together there. Left hand. Now let's say as we go, we're going to use some syllables here called conical. Now I'm going to say threes, which is ta-ki-ta. Ta-ki-ta, but I'm going to do it with this. Let's do it together. Ready? Here we go. Ta-ki-ta, 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 ta-ki-ta. So I'm kind of throwing the stick and then catching those taps. Whip, tap, up, whip, tap, up. So even if you're new to this, just try to get the general motion. Just nice and slow. Now we'll go both. You could do each hand separately. Let's go at the same time. And out. Fantastic. Put your hands up. That's a celebration. Excellent. So let's just think about what that is. That's momentum, and that's like energy traveling uninterrupted. So notice for that to happen, everything has to be loose. Now, I'm actually just going to find a clip here. Who here has played baseball? I'm gonna put up my hand and say, yeah, in grade school was maybe the last time I played. But I'm going to share a little clip here that I found the other day, and I'm just going to search baseball pitcher slow motion. Yeah, so I found this the other day. I can actually share my screen. So check this out. So baseball, you could look at all these examples. A baseball pitch might be a good example of, like, you can see the flow of energy just travel through the body uninterrupted. So let's check this out.
It's crucial for me. It's your power source, and it is key for my timing. It keeps the stress out of my arm and allows me to be powerful and under control as I go towards the plate.
That's really cool. So if you think of there's the core and the energy is just traveling through the arm, everything's got to be loose
towards the plate.
And there's like the throw. So I can remember a lot of my teachers and mentors saying, I want you to always have like a throwing sensation when you're playing the drum. So it's like almost like you're throwing the stick at the drum. And actually, I'm going to share this little clip right now of Mike Mangini, and he was on this. He's outstanding drummer, one of my favorites. He plays in a band called Dream Theater, and he's done a lot of other stuff. And he was on this science show called Discovery, and they watched him play, and then they slow motioned what happened. So watch him hit a snare drum, and I think it slowed down like 1,000 times. So check this out.
Okay, so much for the drummer. Now, what's happening to the drum kit itself?
Oh,
An everyday normal snare hit.
Wow.
that's not funny. Look at that.
It's an amazing thing, right?
I don't believe what I'm looking at.
The snare skin appears almost liquid as it absorbs the impact of Mike's stick.
Wow, that's so cool. I've seen that 1,000 times and it never gets old. So that's every time you rebound. Think of all those vibrations have to happen. You have to get out of the way. And then as the energy comes from you, it's got to flow through you out into the kit. All right. So put your hands up. Does that make sense so far? Outstanding. Now, everything's cool. And there's lots of exercises that I give my drummers in the community for like how to work this out on a practice pad. But guess what? What's the big failing of a practice pad? Can anybody think of what it is? That's true. Okay, the practice pad is this big. And now I'm going to go to the kit. The kit is this big. Now, if you think like what other instrumentalist does this in music? If you're playing on guitar, you warm up on a guitar. You're going around the fretboard. If you play piano, you're going to warm up. You're going to do scales on a piano. You're on the piano. Any other instrument uses the whole instrument. But us as drummers, we'll use this tiny little practice pad and do these like rudiments and stuff. And sometimes you don't even, you're not doing it with rebound or momentum. That's how it was for me at first. I just was like hitting this thing. And then we go to this big instrument. Look, I can't even touch the edges of it. Like here's the far edge of my cymbal. And here's like the far edge of this cymbal. Even if you're on a tiny kit, it's probably too big to hug. And we got all this stuff, never mind like a big Neil Peart kit, if it was that big. But even if it's a Ringo kit, like a small kit, it's pretty big. So what other instrumentalist practices on a tiny surface and then expects to play music and flow on a big surface? Like nobody, right? So we need some systems to be able to practice getting around the kit. So that's what I'm going to show you right now. Now, let's start thinking in shapes. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here, and this is a piece of material that you'll find in the LTR drumming method system. I'll talk about that as we go for anybody not familiar with it. So I hope you can see this. This is just a bunch of shapes, and there's 32 shapes. And these are thinking of your drum set, standard kit, snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom. But so there's a forwards arrow. There's the arrow going backwards. Here's the letter C. Here's a backwards C. There you go, right? You got the letter N. You could just use your imagination. Here are the triangles down here. And just 32 shapes. There's got to be a shape here that maybe you've never thought of. Now, even just being on the kit, thinking in shapes. Some people say they think in shapes, some people never have. But this is like, you could kind of, you know, if you ever seen the movie Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, right? So just thinking of the kit, like, oh, I can see, there's the letter C, right? I could do that backwards. Okay, here's the letter L. So move. Now, if anybody's, I want everybody to move in some shapes on their kit right now. Now, if anybody peeks in, they're going to think you're freaking crazy. No, don't drum. I want you just to flow like this. They're going to think you're so weird because you're like this, right? You're not making sound. They're going to be like, okay, drummers are crazy. I'm leaving. So look what I'm doing right now. Here's the letter L. Now you could literally, as I said, you look pretty crazy, but you could go through that shape sheet like this. Okay, now here's what I call around the world. So I'm doing that, you know, that like classic fill, but I'm going around, then I'm coming back. Going around, then I'm coming back. Now, there's something that is in the LTR method called MTA, muscle target awareness. Muscle target awareness. And this just comes from athletes. Like, study the human body. Be able to feel what muscles are working when there's, what muscles do you want to be working and what muscles do you not want to be working that might get in your way? We have a lot of muscles, right? I don't know how many there are. It's a lot. So you could study this stuff. I have like a little bit. Now, there's a really cool video once I saw Tom Brady, and, you know, legendary football player, and he's practicing like a simple, I don't know what it's called, the throw, the when you throw the football really far or whatever. And I can see his coach, and he's working with this specialist or something. And this is like Tom Brady, like now, you know, after all the Super Bowls. And he was working on engaging some muscle like here, like before the snap of like the arm muscles. And it was like really granular. And I thought that was really cool. It's like, here's Tom Brady, like trying to engage some hip muscle to just like get that energy flow even better. He's always improving his game. So work these shapes without, you're not doing this, but you're just getting the flow, and feel what muscles are working from your core. So if I go in that letter L, I can feel that it's a lot different than this. Say like the letter C, or like going backwards is very different than going forwards, okay? So yeah, so that's the beginning of flow. It's like just flowing around the kit. And I call this the martial arts of drumming. So again, you could think like the Karate Kid, you could think what muscles are engaged, like how can I get from here to here in the shape in the most like dancing kind of way as possible. I saw this dance one time. I don't know the name of it, but it's like dancers dance, but they've got this like ribbon attached to their hands and sometimes their like head and stuff, and they kind of do this. And the ribbon kind of catches their movement and exaggerates it. So if I go like this, the ribbon is gonna like, you're gonna see it go through the air. It was at the Olympics, this dance, and it was really cool. So that's how we're trying to get around the kit. And you might think, watch a video of yourself playing, and you might notice like either the areas that you could be doing better and the areas that you're doing really good. So you might notice like a bit of this that you're doing, but you might notice a bit of this, and you'll see where you have it and where you don't. Okay, good. Now so we know about the shapes and we know about the two pillars. Now it's like, what do we actually put inside the shapes? Let's start super simple and just go one hit per drum, okay? So if I'm doing rebounds, just in that one drum, I'm not moving anywhere. So all I have to have is like just those rebound strokes. But as soon as I move to another object, I'm gonna have to engage my momentum. So I'm gonna have to use the wave. So watch this. I'm gonna go one hit and then one hit. So you see the lift, we'll call that like a lift off point. You do it from the side. So I lift off there. So it's like what we took here, but we're just moving it to two different surfaces. So lift off, now I'm on my next drum. Now, getting like dead center of each drum, that's gonna be your accuracy point, right? That's when the drums are gonna sound best. Going back to Mike Mangini, I can remember hearing this way that he practiced. And he said he took coins and this was just a practice kit, and he took off the heads and took a coin and glued the coin to the underside of the head so that when he hit the dead center of the drum, he would feel it in his stick and he would know, because it would sound a certain way and it would feel a certain way, because he wanted to be so accurate to hit the dead center of the drum. So when we hit one drum and then we go to the next drum, you want to be like dead center and you want to have that wave. Okay, so let's just practice this for a second. I'm going snare to tom 1, just one hit per drum. Now I'm going to go to tom 2 if you have a tom 2. Now notice the energy. I'm kind of throwing it out to the side now. It's almost making like a circle. So it's like lift off point. There's rebound and momentum happening. So next one. So I'm just getting like as much flow as possible between those two drums. Now let's use the left hand. Now you might notice, whoa, my left side is a little stiffer, or maybe it feels really good. It's a different animal. Each side of your body, each hand. Then go to the floor tom. Yeah. So unless you have a symmetrical kit, it's going to be very different going, left side of your body, getting to the stuff over here, and then the right side, getting to here, and then the right side, getting to this stuff. There's a lot of stuff in front of us, right? So keep going. Good. Excellent. So you just want to feel like lift off point, and then I'm on my next object, however you set up your kit. Okay, let's try going 4 hits per object. So now I'm like 1, 2, 3, lift off. And I'll just pick shape number 1. Now I'm feeling that from my core, a little bit in my shoulder. The stick is definitely bouncing. And as I move piece to piece, I've got the momentum happening. So I'm just on my right hand, just shape 1. Keep your breathing. Okay, left side. This seems simple, but simple is the best way. Fantastic. Excellent. Give yourself a stick clap. Now remember, you have 32 different shapes there, and that was 4 hits per drum. So it could be 2 hits per drum. You could change the rhythm, but it's just going, like say the X, starting from the floor tom. So floor tom, tom 1, tom 2, snare. Now that's just 1 hit per drum. Now if you start doing this, slow down, like you want this total, whoops. See, I hit something I didn't want to. I'm gonna slow it down. Now I can feel that kind of in my hips. I can feel the stick kind of going side to side a little bit. Left hand. It's a great exercise, by the way. Switch. Sounds kind of cool. Like it might put you in a bit of a trance after a while. Whoops. Do, 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 da, do, do, right? Maybe one hit per, maybe one shape per hand. That's really challenging, actually. Slow it down a little bit. See how I have to think ahead to... Now, what if you did, let's go back to 4 hits per drum. Let's go, right hand does one shape, left hand does another shape. Now, before you get too distracted, remember, rebound, I want to be feeling that, and we want the momentum. So if you catch yourself, always have a mirror in front of you, by the way. Always have a mirror in front of you, and you'll see, the lift off point. Again, see the wave happening. So there's my momentum as I go drum to drum. Here's a good exercise, just like that. That's what we had on the pad earlier, but I'm just moving it here. So that's always got to be there. If that doesn't happen, then you might as well just stop, right? So let's go back to, so as we said, 4 hits per drum, but I'm going to pick one shape with one hand and a different shape with the other hand. Okay, so I'm going to stick with that X. That was kind of cool. And I'm going to go like a backwards X. So floor tom, tom 1, tom 2, snare. Floor tom, tom 1, tom 2, snare. Right, but four hits per drum. And I'm feeling as I switch, like right here, kind of feeling it in my hips a little bit. Pay attention to that, stay loose. Now my left hand, I'm gonna go like the letter C. So I'm gonna go tom 2, tom 1, snare, floor tom. I'll just stay with that for a second. And notice kind of a challenge because my floor tom's here. Here's my left hand getting to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just do that for a little while. Breathe. Here was our other shape, the X, 2, 3, 4, breathe. See how, now a great exercise, you can actually maybe try this right now, is like watching your favorite drummers on mute. So you have permission to like mute me right now. You're like, man, this guy's crazy. I wish I could mute him. Just mute and you'll see this happening. Right? And the other shape was like this. So watch your favorite drummer with the sound on mute, and it's really cool. One of the favorites I did this was with Chad Smith from Chili Peppers, also Steve Gadd. And you can do it with any drummer, and you'll just get a lot of insight into how they get the flow that they get. And Chad, he's kind of like, remember, sounds on mute, right? Which sounds counterintuitive, but it's great exercise. And I even slow motioned it too, by the way. You get all the faces. And it's like, oh, cool. And try to kind of mimic it yourself. So it's really like, you'll start doing this type of stuff, which is so odd. And I know, and I know how crazy I must look, but this is what it is, right? And watch your drummers, how they flow like this. And you'll find your own version of it. Some, think the way Neil Peart moves is more like exact, like a surgeon. And then some drummers get all kind of spacey with it, right? And some drummers are a little more like, it depends on your personality, really. And that's what this is about. You may be a romantic poet. You may be a warrior, or maybe you're somewhere in between. This will all come out in your flow, right? Okay, so back to this. X with the right hand, C with the left hand. And just feel the flow of each shape. Now let's try one shape with, now this may be too much for now, but just to see how far you could go with this. Try like one shape with one hand and then only one round per side. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So there's the letter C, switch. So I gotta really think ahead. Change. See what can happen? So I'm gonna start again. All right, C. And it kind of makes a melody. Challenging to talk and do this at the same time, by the way. And over time, I'm kind of getting used to the melody that makes, so it's helping me. See, I'm going too fast for my, I'm interrupting my flow there. So if you do what I just did, where you're like, everything's going good, and then you're like, your flow is gone. So don't go at a speed that you lose your flow. Obviously, flow is the most important thing. But just for fun, I'm going to see how fast I can go. And, think of like Terry Bozzio is one of my favorite drummers, like how he kind of flows, he's got this giant set, how he kind of flows around and how it's like an emotional thing. So that's what you're looking for. Okay, so I'm going to see, the goal is not speed, but also you want to push your speed at the same time. So let's see what happens. So 1, 3, 4. Maybe get a foot going. Yeah. That's this part right here. I gotta be ready for that. I hit a rim. Keep breathing. Now that's a little fast. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm trying to push myself, but I'm also aware, when do I stop breathing? I want to always have deep breaths, or this is worthless. When do I start hitting rims? When do I start losing my rebound? It's worthless if you're not doing that. When do I stop? When do my hands get faster than my mind? It's worthless. I need to always know where I'm going next, or I lose my flow. Does that make sense? Put your hand up. Yeah, amazing, cool. So if you make this practice a part of your routine and a part of your ritual. So remember, let's review. So we have like the 2 pillars of technique, which are what? Rebound and momentum. So we start that off on the pad. And then when we go to the kit, we're gonna like kind of think in shapes and know like what our liftoff point is as we go object to object, and just really kind of flow from point to point and really think like, what muscle is working? Am I relaxed? Am I breathing? And it's really limitless. And for future sessions, I'll just show you a couple more things here. We're going to take different rhythms, and we call these the elements. So if I go over here, different rhythms, and also moving these in the different shapes. So like any rhythm you hear can be broken down, and then we can move it in a shape on the drums. Now, a resource for you is there's a great book called Drum Set Warm-Ups. And this was written by an amazing drummer named Rod Morgenstein. And he just came up with warm-ups. They're just like different shapes to go around the drum set. So let me show you a couple here, and you can try this out. So, okay, and I'll even try to do these, to do one of these right now. Let's see, I got the right one. Yeah, everybody can see that? Excellent. So now you may be familiar with reading music, you may not be. Pretty simple. So there's like snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom. So snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom. And you get used to that pretty quick. There's only 4 different spots that it could be. And you can see at the top, right, all rights, and then left hands. So that's like, there's our first shape, right? So snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom, just like it's going around the kit like that. Left hand does it, and then you go, oh, okay, number 2. Okay, there's the backwards. Snare, floor tom, tom 2, tom 1. All right hand, all left hand. So you can see what Rod Morgenstein did is just, he's using, oh, I could do this shape, I could do that shape. Now when you go down here, check this out. So we got, okay, hi-hat, floor tom, hi-hat, tom 1, tom 2, tom 1, tom 1. And then it's like snare, ride, snare, snare, tom 2, tom 1, tom 2, tom 2. So let's actually try that together, and then we'll just end for today. Okay, so yeah, you can see me. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at what that is. Okay, so it's, wow. So hi-hat, floor tom, hi-hat, hi-hat, okay? So let's just start out with that. Now you notice when I was looking right at the page, I actually missed my floor tom. So, so that's part of the flowing around the kit, is like, again, being totally accurate. So can I get my left hand all the way to my floor tom and be totally accurate? So, whoops. So there's the first part, and then it's tom 1, tom 2, tom 1, tom 1. So I'll just do that first. Sorry, it's one hand at a time. Wow. You see the pattern there? So it's kind of like 1 on this side, 2 on that side. Now I gotta really concentrate there. But do you see how I'm using the 2 pillars there? So the rebound's happening and the momentum as I go piece to piece. That's actually really cool. Whoops. Slow down. That's probably the trickiest part, my weaker, and look for these little chinks in the armor as like valuable things. Like, wow, it is actually really challenging for me to get my left hand all the way to my floor tom, which is over here, and then back to the hi-hat. Like, that's valuable information, right? Like, maybe just practice that flow for a while. And again, even with the sound on mute, pay attention to how you're flowing around. Okay, so there's the first part. Now the second part, I guess it's gonna, oh, okay, so it's going snare, ride, snare, snare, 2, no. So snare, ride, snare, snare, and then tom 2, tom 1, tom 2, tom 2. So if you get this resource, Drum Set Warm-Ups by Rod Morgenstein, he's also went, wow, like let's practice just having some kind of routine or ritual to flow around the kit. And the whole book is literally just different ways you could do that. So it's fun. And why reinvent the wheel? It's like he was the first person to notice this and to put this resource out for drummers. So super cool. So that's just the second half. But again, the way you're doing it matters more than what you're doing. So if I'm doing this without breathing and I'm kind of, I'm doing it in an unflowing way without those two pillars, then like start again on the pad, reset, slow down, breathe. It's got to have that foundation first. So that's pretty cool. So I've got that. Okay, so just to end today, let's see if we can put that together. So that was, oh yeah, that's supposed to be one hand at a time. So that would actually be like this. Great workout for the weaker side. And I'm trying to be just in the dead center of each drum. All right, this is a challenge. I'm doing this totally impromptu. Let's see if I can put all this together. So hi-hat 4, tom hi-hat, tom 1. Okay, I'm gonna go really slow. All left side. Slow, wow. Now I'm still reading the sheet, which you kind of don't want to do. So I find that like if I glance at the sheet and go, oh yeah, and then I keep looking at my kit. Now eventually I'll memorize that. If I just had a few more minutes on it, come back to it tomorrow, it's like, oh yeah, that one. I'm kind of feeling the flow, wax on, wax off. So, the less you're staring at the sheet, the better. So I'm going to try to do that as little as possible, slow down a little bit. Go by the sound also being created, right? Yeah. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, one more time. And there we go. So it's very meditative once you get it. And don't talk at the same time. Because now I've kind of got the sound. Well, let's try one more time. 1, 2, 3, go. Slow down a little bit. A lot of concentration. Woo, man. But I'm warmed up, right? Remember, this book is called Drum Set Warm Up. So now if I'm playing, so I can feel that. It's very different sensation than just what a lot of drummers do, which is like, play some paradiddles or something. You're not really flowing there, and you're just on this little surface. Then you go right to your kit and you're just expecting to flow around the kit. You'll notice a difference right away if you employ all this right there. So cool. So that is flowing around the kit for now. We can really go in an endless kind of way. Does anybody have any questions, by the way, before we end today? You can just unmute yourself and throw any questions. I'll see if there's any questions in the chat. Just feel free to unmute yourself.
Chris, can you hear my drums now?
Yeah, fantastic. Loud and clear.
Good.
Loud and clear.
This is the setup I'll use then.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Cool. So that's flowing around the kit like part 1. We'll keep it going and just make it a part of your daily routine and really think like, it really starts with you. It really starts with the flow of how you are first. And I'll just show this before we end today. Mostly everybody has seen the LTR drumming method here. Now, if I go into flow, like just flow section, and I stay just into there, we kind of covered all the areas that we need just by doing these exercises. So the effortless technique, that came from the rebound and the momentum. We talked about feet and balance, just to review today. Ergonomics is how you get piece to piece around your kit. We took some deep breaths to start, and as we flowed around the kit in the different shapes, we were aware of our breath work. And I don't know about you, but as I found the right speed and I could control it, I started to get into a bit of a meditative state there right at the end, like do 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 da do da da do da, just going to those different parts of the kit, and how it started to create like a melody almost, which is flow. I started to get off the sheet and I started to get into the movement. So we always say, get out of your head and into the movement. And I don't know about you, but I was starting to sink down into a bit of a flow state there, which is the whole goal. Okay, amazing. Give me one of these. LTR drumming community, keep practicing, and remember, flow is the whole goal, because that's how drumming gives us the most joy. So keep it going. Don't rush it. 1% better every day. Awesome.